The Mahdi in the media crossfire, targeted by 2 channels, and a third comes to his defense. In 1996, BBC Arabic shut down, and in its place Al Jazeera was launched, shifting the soft media power from London, the British capital, to Doha, the capital of Qatar and the land of Banu Tamim. From an empire upon which the sun never set, to a small Gulf nation, a shift from the west to the east, from non-Arabs to Arabs, from Rome to Islam, from London to Doha. And so the story begins. BBC was the primary destination for news and global updates. It was the oracle of the headlines. People shaped their worldviews, drew their knowledge, and absorbed their culture through BBC. The channel assumed the role of the global professor. People tuned in for its analysis, were captivated by its interpretations, swayed by its biases, and impressed by its perspectives. As with every media outlet, the BBC had its own agenda, goals, and messaging. And when Muslims receive their worldview from a channel based in London, don't be surprised when their values start to change and even get distorted. Then came 1996. BBC aired an interview with Saudi dissident Dr. Muhammad al-Mas'ari, who openly criticized the Saudi regime. The Saudi government could not tolerate such criticism and swiftly pulled its funding from the channel. That move led to the closure of BBC Arabic.
الجزيرة طبعا من يتابع الأحداث أنا كنت في بريطانيا عندما نشأت الجزيرة. قبل أن تنشأ الجزيرة اعتمدت على إذاعة البي بي سي العربية التي أنشئت بصفقة مع السعوديين. ولكن عندما وكان العقد ينص على عدم التدخل في الحرية التحريرية، لا تدخل في أعمال التحرير وأن يكون في هامش من الحرية. ثم بعد ذلك بسبب مقابلة مع العبد الفقير يعرفها الناس جميعا لم يتم بثها في السعودية. وادعت شركة أوربت اللي كان يمتلكها خالد بن عبد الله بن عبد الرحمن، ادعت أن هذا إنما كان القمر الصناعي محطة البث من إيطاليا إلى أعلى كانت متعطلة، وتبين هذا كذب. فهدد البي بي سي بأن ستنهي العقد وطلبت الغرامة. الغرامة كانت حوالي نصف مليار ذلك الوقت. فذهب خالد بن عبد الله بن الرحمن قال للملك فهد أيامها أنا غرموني وش أسوي؟ قال ندفع عنك الغرامة. ما نبغى المحطة هذه اللي يظهر فيها المعارض ويسبب لنا مشاكل. مسعود مستعد لمثل هذه. فحينئذ تم تسريح هذا الجهاز الضخم وقامت قطر بحركة ذكية جدا وأنشأت الجزيرة. أحدثت نقلة نوعية لا شك.
Coincidentally, Qatar was preparing to launch Al Jazeera, and with BBC Arabic's shutdown, many of its top staff and anchors transitioned to work at the new Qatari channel. It was one of the earliest fruits of Saudi opposition activism. If all that activism had achieved was the closure of BBC Arabic and the transfer of its talent to a channel broadcasting from the Arabian Peninsula, that alone would have been a major victory. Eventually, BBC found new funding and relaunched. But by then, Al Jazeera had already taken the spotlight, gaining prominence, sparking debate, pushing the boundaries of free speech. So if the Saudi regime could not handle a passing criticism on BBC Arabic, how could it possibly stomach Al Jazeera's entire editorial line? The Saudi government grew increasingly frustrated with Qatar and its powerful media arm, Al Jazeera. And so, on June 5th, 2017, the infamous Gulf blockade of Qatar began. One of the key demands to lift the blockade: shut down Al Jazeera. Under siege, Qatar stood isolated. Voices of support fell silent. Most feared retaliation from Saudi Arabia. That's when the roaring lion and fiery orator Abu Abdullah Hassan al-Tihami alayhi salam rose up. He spoke, reminding the world of the virtues of Banu Tamim, the noble lineage of Qatar's ruling family, in his iconic sermon, scalding rain upon those who attack the lineage of Banu Tamim. He spoke words so eloquent none could add to them. They were complete and satisfying. His words left no room for jest or rebuttal. As the statement goes, people know when I say Amma Ba'd, I am the one to speak. The timing of his sermon was almost divine. Saudi Arabia's animosity towards Qatar made the region ready to hear a new idea, that the management of the holy mosques in Mecca and Medina should no longer rest with the Saudi regime. Tihami's speech rekindled the hopes of those who believed in the coming of the Mahdi, whose allegiance will be pledged in Mecca. This implies the Saudi regime must be removed from control over the two holy mosques. That's when BBC Arabic, the channel of the Dajjal, felt alarmed. They sensed that the appearance of the Mahdi in Mecca might be close. Here was Qatar, land of Banu Tamim, now dominating the media scene through Al Jazeera and openly opposing the Saudi government, the very authority over the two holy sites. BBC feared the spread of the Mahdi's call. So what did they do? They produced a documentary on Juhayman al-Utaybi, the man who attempted to take over the Grand Mosque in Mecca nearly 40 years ago, claiming allegiance to a false Mahdi. Through the film, BBC sent subtle yet sharp messages aimed at discouraging any renewed attempts to reclaim the holy mosque in the name of the true Mahdi. The Mahdi now had become a media target for BBC, a sign of just how serious, how threatening this matter had become. The timing of the documentary. On July 11th, 2017, BBC aired the documentary on the Juhayman incident and the Qahtani, 2 months after Qatar's blockade and 2 months after Hassan Tihami's fiery sermon. The release raised eyebrows, raised questions. Why now? Why reopen this file now? After 40 years of silence, it became clear the longing for the Mahdi's appearance was still smoldering beneath the ashes of 4 decades. And so, the Western media decision makers gave their orders. Tackle the Mahdi topic. Maybe we can kill the idea before it rises. But this may have been the worst idea of theirs. Britain's ties to the custodians of the two holy mosques. It's no longer a secret. Saudi Arabia is a product, both historically and politically, of British design. Even members of the founding family have acknowledged this openly, as stated explicitly by Prince Talal ibn Abdul Aziz.
حول هذه العلاقة وأن الملك عبد العزيز رحمه الله كان مهادنا للبريطانيين، بل كان يتقاضى منهم راتبا شهريا مقداره 5000 جنيه استرليني. هل صحيح كان يتقاضى راتب من البريطانيين؟
نعم، كان يتلقى راتب، وكان الراتب هذا هو، أنا من وجهة نظري الآن لما أنظر لهذا الراتب، هو مثل القروض التي تمنح من الدول الغنية للدول الفقيرة.
يعني لم يكن هذا الراتب بمثابة يعني إسكات للملك أو يعني نوع من شراء الولاء؟
ممكن أنه هذا في الإنجليز. طبعا معقول يعطوا راتب 5000 جنيه في ذلك الوقت للإنسان في الصحراء، مبلغ ضخم. هل ممكن يعطوه هكذا لوجه الله؟ لا، هم يعطوه لغرض في نفس يعقوب.